The truth is, there's a lot going on when it comes to overeating, overweight, weight loss. There's a lot to it because it's not as simple as just following a food diet. You can prove this to yourself by looking at the fact of how many times have you done a food diet. If all you needed was a healthy eating plan, why would you be listening to my voice right now on this free weight loss podcast? Because if a healthy eating plan could fix your eating, and if it could solve why you eat what you do and why you eat so much, then you wouldn't have a problem, right? So obviously, there's a lot more to it. And today, what we're going to look at is considering, could you possibly be eating in the past? And this is probably a question that you've never asked yourself before, but I'll explain. Welcome back to the JoLynn Braley Show. Today is episode number 557. The topic, are you eating in the past? Let's find out. Hello. Welcome back to the JoLynn Braley Show. My name is JoLynn Braley. I am the permanent weight loss coach and weight loss mindset expert who founded the Inner Self Diet. The Inner Self Diet is the diet that you need if you want to solve why you keep struggling, why you keep eating the foods that don't help you lose weight, why you keep eating so much. The Inner Self Diet is the solution to unraveling the whole thing. And once you become a match on the inside to the body you want on the outside, then you don't have a problem anymore. And what I mean specifically is if you want to get thin on the outside, you have to get thin on the inside. You can't stay in fat thinking and in fat feelings and in fat beliefs on the inside if you want to get thin, healthy, slender, and awesome on the outside. All right? I have been doing this coaching with awesome women and a few cool men all the way back since 2009, and I've never seen it fail. The only way the Inner Self Diet can fail is if you don't do your homework. But you got to get the homework. You got to get the steps. You got to start out small, start where you are, and just keep moving forward day by day by day with accountability, with Get Real coaching, which is all about just staying honest with yourself, with me helping you, because I can be objective. You can't be objective on your own. I can't be objective for my own problems. This is why we all need professional coaching if you want to get from where you are right now to where you want to be as fast as possible. And my awesome weight loss coaching clients in the Inner Self Diet go from where they are to struggle-free weight loss in 8 weeks or less with my help. So today we're going to look at this topic of, are you eating in the past? But before we do that, I recommend that you go get my free download right now before we go on. Don't forget to do this. It's a very easy domain name to remember, but if you don't do it now, you might forget, because maybe you're like me and a lot of other people. There's so many distractions out there that you kind of got to pause this podcast and just do this now. So go over to www.easyfunweightloss.com/ebook, www.easyfunweightloss.com/ebook, and download my free ebook to start learning a little bit more about this whole topic of losing weight from the inside out. That's about becoming that inner match to the thin you that you want to be on the outside. You got to get thin on the inside if you want to get forever thin on the outside. So www.easyfunweightloss.com/ebook. All right, so this topic today of are you eating in the past? This is a very interesting topic, and I have 3 different examples for you. And the problem with this is if you do eat in the past, you're not going to be able to lose weight because you're eating too much or you're eating the wrong kinds of foods. So I've got 2 examples that have to do with eating too much. And then I also have an example of eating the wrong kinds of foods and also eating too much. But also the first 2 examples could also be about eating the wrong kinds of foods. So yeah, this is a complicated subject, this entire thing of weight loss. You know what I mean, Jean? Like I said in the very beginning of today's Free Weight Loss Podcast episode, number 557 of the JoLynn Braley Show, if it were as simple as just following a healthy eating plan, then what would be the problem? Why would you have any problems? How many healthy eating plans do you already possess? And you only need one. If it's healthy, and it's sane, and it is common sense, and it works as long as you work it, then all you have to do is work it. But when you don't have the right mindset, when you're not thin on the inside, when you're not thinking thin, when you're not being thin, and when I say thin, I mean slender, healthy, strong. I don't mean being skinny and weak, but I mean, you know what I mean, right? But if you have not solved your internal world, if you haven't solved why you keep using food to try to get through life, the healthy eating plan isn't going to work because you're not going to work it. So clearly, you need more than just a healthy eating plan. Does that make sense? All you have to do is look at your results. Your results don't lie. I love what Dr. Now from My 600-Pound Life says. He says the scale never lies. People lie. And you can lie to yourself. You can lie to others. You can lie to yourself. But that scale does not lie. You can eat in secret. You can deny how much you're eating, but that scale doesn't lie. So just look at your results. And yeah, I mean, I've had coaching clients who had bookshelves full of diet books. It's the information and the knowledge is not enough. You have to go to the why. You have to go to the root if you really want to solve this and break free. And that's what I do with my awesome weight loss coaching clients in the Inner Self Diet. But now let's get back to this topic here of are you eating in the past? And before we get done today, I will share with you what your first step is if you really do want to unravel this problem and if you really do want to break free. Okay, what does this mean to eat in the past? I'll give you my first example. And this happens with a lot of football players. So a football player is a guy who is very, very, very physically active. And they can eat a lot. And they're not necessarily eating the healthiest of foods. But because they are so physically active, that extra that they're eating, they can maintain it. They don't get fat. They can handle all that extra food and it doesn't catch up with them. But here's what happens with a lot of football players, because eventually they get to a point where they're not playing football anymore. And what a lot of them do is they continue to eat the same way. that they used to eat when they were playing football, and then they gain a bunch of weight. And then they start feeling bad about themselves. And then they get caught up in the whole cycle, which you can probably relate to, where your self-esteem gets so low and you feel like such a failure, and you're caught up in the emotional eating and binge eating patterns that when you feel so bad, you eat more food to try to feel better, and it just keeps going on and on and on and on and on. And you gain more weight, you feel worse, you eat more, you pick more of the unhealthy choices, all those foods that you know don't help you lose weight, and you tell yourself, well, I know what I need to do. I can get it together. I can lose weight anytime I want, which as I just said those words, that sounds just like a drug addict or an alcoholic, because they're always saying, well, I can quit anytime I want. It's the same thing with what I just said. And I hadn't thought of it like that before, but I can lose weight anytime I want. I know what I need to do. I can lose weight anytime I want. Guess what? Ding, 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 ding. Food addiction. And yes, food is highly addictive. Processed food with all that sugar and all those additives and all those ingredients. So again, there's a lot going on with this whole topic. There's a lot going on. So eating in the past. If a football player continues to eat the way that he used to eat when he was playing football, and now he's eating like that, but he's not playing football anymore, he's eating in the past. He's not eating for his lifestyle today. And without all of that extra excessive physical activity from playing football, he doesn't need to be eating the same way that he used to. And then he gains the weight. That's one example. I have another personal example from my own father, who grew up on a farm. And he would get up early in the morning when he was a young boy, and he'd eat a big breakfast to get all stoked up, to go out on the farm, do the whatever he was doing at that time with the gardening and hoeing and planting and whatever he did, which he did a lot. But he was young and very, very active. But then later on in life, he continued to eat the same way with these very, very, very large farm type breakfasts. And that way of eating didn't match his level of activity in his present moment. So he was eating in the past. Does that make sense? An example that just came to me right now, which is not one that I was going to share, but let's say that you used to have a job where you were delivering mail. This just now came to me, just out of nowhere. But let's say that you had a job where you were delivering mail, you were walking every day, you had a lot of physical activity, and then let's say you continued to work for the post office, but you took a desk job instead. But you continued to eat the same way that you used to eat. You're eating in the past. And you don't need to eat as much if you're not as physically active. Now, all of these examples have to do with physical activity, but I also have a personal example of my own, which I can call eating in the past. And this is a different example. So I can think of and identify foods that I call my past self foods. And those are foods that I used to eat and eat a lot of in like a past life. When I was more insecure, when I was less self-assured, a different time in my life. And one of the things that I used to eat were those, what are they called? They're Hostess. What are they? They're not ding dongs. They are kind of like Twinkies, but they have pink coconut on them. So they're not Twinkies. They're not ding dongs. They're, Zingers. I think they're called Zingers. That is a food from my past. And if I go out and buy those to eat them, which I haven't for, I don't remember the last time, that's like going into the past for me. And then the ice cream aisle, all right, that's in the same category. So there are certain processed foods, highly processed foods, junk foods. I guess I could put fast food in that category too. Certain foods that I can relate to from my past. And so that's another definition of eating in the past. And this one here, though, this also has to do with mindset and energy and emotion, because I was in a different mindset and in a different emotional state when I was eating those kinds of foods. They're actually a lower vibration food. They are literally like a deader, denser, faker food. Is faker a word? They're like a fake food. And that level of vibration matched where I was at that time. It's a bunch of junk food that matches when you aren't believing in yourself, your self-esteem is really low. It's not good. It's not healthy. It's not good. And it makes you fat. And it's addictive. You know, you want to keep eating more and more and more. That type of food is completely different and on a totally different vibration than eating clean. And if you don't know what I mean by eating clean, go get here's another free download for you. Just go to www.grabmygrocerylist.com and you can get my free and simple clean eating staples. It's my grocery list of foods that I don't even need to write down, because they are foods that are just regular staples in so many of the recipes that I make. And that will give you a really good idea and a clear picture of what I mean by clean eating food. But they are, fresh, and I definitely eat protein. I won't ever be a vegetarian. I won't ever do that just to get people to like me or anything like that. It doesn't work for me. And it makes me feel awful if I'm not eating protein. I don't have energy and I don't lose weight. So I definitely eat meat, but there's a difference between unprocessed and processed when it comes to that also. For example, if I'm going to make a recipe with chicken breast, I'm going to buy plain, fresh chicken breast. I'm not going to buy frozen, because frozen is always going to have something added to it. They inject it with stuff, they put stuff in it, and that's processed. So I won't buy it. And the thing about the processed food, besides the vibration, besides the energy of it, what happens is with all of that highly processed food, which has made America fat, it basically and simply, it gunks up the mechanics of your metabolism. It slows it down, it grinds it to a halt. But when you are eating clean, healthy food and cooking, you got to cook ahead of time so that you always have the food to eat. You got to be prepared. But when you're eating clean, then your engine runs, it's like it's running on a high octane fuel, and your engine, the engine of your metabolism, it revs up, and then your body starts to burn off the extra fat that you're carrying around because it can start using that as fuel. So that's just a very simple explanation of why clean eating is the fastest way to shed the fat. But again, this whole topic is so complicated. I almost said heavy, but it can be heavy because of the very, very heavy emotions and the heavy emotional state that you're in when you are stuck in the out of control eating. It's a very heavy topic, and it could make you feel like crap about yourself. On the other side, when you break free of that, and you get into a different mindset and you get into a different emotional state, everything starts to lighten up and your eating becomes lighter also. Not just in the amount, but in the types of foods that you eat. All of this stuff is connected. This is why a simple eating plan is not enough. Even if it's the best, healthiest eating plan on the planet, you have to go about weight loss in a holistic manner, because if you leave out your mind and you leave out your beliefs, you leave out your thinking, you leave out your emotional state, you are cutting out 92.8% of this entire problem and solution. This is why what I do with my coaching clients is so successful, because it's addressing the real problems to honestly and truly break free. So with everything I've said here, does it make sense what I'm talking about when I'm asking, are you eating in the past? And if you are eating in the past, does it make sense why you're not losing weight? Unless, okay, now here's an example that just came to me right now as I am speaking. What if in the past you were on track and you were feeling awesome and you were doing great and you were in a high vibrational state and you were eating high vibrational foods and you were in a fit, healthy, slender, strong body? If you wanted to look at eating in the past in a positive way, then it would be good to be eating in the past if in the past you were really rocking it. Does that make sense? That's not where I was going with this topic today, though, because 9.9999% of the time, when you're eating in the past, it's not helping you. And the other thing too, I have had a couple clients who they were on track in the past, but the problem was they didn't know how they did it. They just kind of like fell into it. And if you don't know how to get back there because you don't know how you got there, then you can't get back. So when you have the system and the steps that take you out of the problem and break you free into the freedom, then you know how to get back there if you ever do get off track. But when you just kind of happen into a healthy groove, but you have no conscious way of recognizing it, you didn't consciously choose it, you just kind of happened into it. Then if you get off track from that, and obviously you're off track because you're listening to me right now, if you don't know how you got there, you don't know how to get back. So that can be really, really frustrating too. So I've had some clients who never really were there. They weren't like they feel like they've always struggled with their eating and their weight. And then I've also had a couple clients who in the past they were doing great, but they never really did it consciously. So they were extremely frustrated because they couldn't recreate it. They couldn't do it again, no matter how hard they tried, until I coached them in the inner self diet, and then they broke free, and then they had the steps to know how to get from point A to point B if they ever got off track again. So yeah, there is a way out. There is a way out. You do not have to continue to struggle. You do not have to be a slave to emotional eating or to binge eating. You don't have to stay addicted to the processed foods. You don't have to stay in this pattern. If you really want out, if you want to feel great about yourself, if you want to look great, if you want to actually honestly lose weight, because remember, the scale doesn't lie. If you really want to stop struggling with your eating and your weight, and you know you need help, and you want to do this as quickly as possible, then go now over to www.discovery-session.com, enter your first name and email, and then on the next page, there's a button. Click the button. And then fill out the application for a complimentary weight loss discovery session with me. And let's find out. Let's get on the phone, see if I might be able to help you break free. And this is for you if you really want to break free. You know, you don't want to struggle anymore. You really, honestly, sincerely want to finally succeed with your eating and your weight. And it makes sense to you. You know that a food diet isn't enough. You know that it's about emotions. It's about your thinking. It's about your beliefs. And the worst part about that is that you don't even know what they are. You don't know what's stopping you. You can't see your own blind spots. So anyway, this is your ticket out if you really, really want to do this. Now, these sessions, this complimentary weight loss discovery session, these are very, very limited because of time. So it's first come, first serve. If you really want to do this and you're fed up with waiting and putting it off, then go apply now, because whoever gets their application first, they're the ones who are going to have the best shot at getting on my schedule. I can at most only talk to 3 people a week. So it's very, very limited. Go over now to www.discovery-session.com if you want to get started now. Take your first step towards freedom from the frickin' struggle. And break free so that you're not eating in the past anymore. I hope you got something out of today's free weight loss podcast. I like talking about these things that you don't hear about. You know, the mainstream diet industry sure isn't going to tell you about this, because guess what? They set you up to fail. You know why? Because if you were to succeed, you wouldn't keep coming back to them. For example, something like Weight Watchers, you know, which I've had coaching clients who have done before. They like it. And so if it works for you, that's great, but you got to get the mindset in order to do it. In fact, one of my coaching clients just came to mind. She said that she had done Weight Watchers in the past and it worked, but she stopped going. And when she went back after doing the inner self diet, she said it was like a completely different experience. And that was because she had changed her inside. She had changed her mindset about it. She had changed her viewpoint. She had changed her inner world, her inner self. And then it was a snap. So something like that can be a great tool and be an eating plan and a way of eating that can help you lose the weight. But if you don't go into it with the right mindset, if you haven't solved why you got overweight, why you eat the way you do, why you can't control yourself, you know, if you don't address the real problems, then what happens is the mainstream diet industry doesn't help you with that stuff. You know, who is helping you to uncover and change and replace your limiting beliefs with positive, empowering beliefs that make it easy to lose weight. You know what I mean, Jean? So that's all I've got for you today. If you really want help, if you really want to stop struggling, and if you are fast enough to get one of these sessions with me, this complimentary weight loss discovery session, then get over there right now to www.discovery-session.com and get started now. Fill out an application for yourself. Why wait on your weight? I mean, come on. Why keep feeling bad, right? I'm JoLynn Braley, permanent weight loss coach, founder of the Inner Self Diet, and I wish you your best life living inside of your ideal body. Yay!